Hello and welcome to In the Pocket, the bass guitar. Hello and welcome to In the Pocket, the bass guitar podcast where we get the lowdown on the low end. My name's Johnny, a totally average bass player, and today it's a bit of a special episode. I'm joined by a couple of friends. They're not here right now. We're going to catch up with them in a bit. But I thought I'd break the mold a little bit, do something a bit wild, a bit different to our normal format. Because it's been a big week for gear news and stuff with the triumphant return of NAMM. For those who don't know, the NAMM show is an annual event that happens in the United States. It's organized by the National Association of Music Merchants, hence NAMM. Maybe it should be called NAMM instead of NAMM. Who am I to say? Anyway, at NAMM, it used to be that merchants and sellers, be the companies that are making the guitars, manufacturers, turn up and sell products to each other, essentially. Display what the products are, what their new releases are, and then you see all companies leaving their cards behind saying, I want to make this many orders of this. Let's talk about doing business about this. It's a massive networking event to show off new gear. But now it's much more open to the public, and being a online content world that we live in now and that you're listening to right now, being a part of it. It's very outward facing, and it's where a lot of companies drop their hot and fresh new products. But this is normally done in the winter, the big NAMM, and then they do a smaller summer NAMM. So they've said that they're not going to do the winter NAMM anymore. So it's interesting move, and interesting to see how companies react. So anyway, for this episode, I thought that we would just have a look at some of the things that were announced, and then talk to a couple of friends who have previously been guests on the podcast, who actually went to NAMM. My friends in the United States, Bully ThaKidd and AMP the bass player. So we'll talk to them in just a little bit about their experiences. But first of all, I'm going to talk about my kind of favorite bits that I saw announced over the weekend. So starting off, the one that seems to be making a lot of headlines has been Ernie Ball with Music Man. So in the bass world, it's been mostly guitar related things, but in the bass world, they have launched the Ernie Ball Stingray 5 35th anniversary. 35th anniversary Stingray 5. It almost seems unbelievable. It's in this awesome trans buttercream finish. Just the name itself sounds incredible. No pick guard, block inlays. This like really, really not burly. It's almost like a flamed wood to the headstock and the back of the neck, and this incredible binding. Oh my god, it looks so good. There's no pick guard on there as well, which seems to be something that Music Man are really into doing at the minute with their Stingray 5s, and I'm here for it. I'm a big fan of it. I think that looks really cool. I don't love the kind of headstock look compared to the body. It's a bit off, I think, but I've seen some, the official pictures that they put up, I think look worse than some of the videos I've seen of it. So I think maybe it looks a little bit better in person. That being said, it's still an incredible looking bass. So I think it's about $2,250 for just the H version, and then they'll also bring out an HH, 2 humbuckers eventually, I think they said, but there's no price on that one yet. So yeah, that was it from Ernie Ball really. I'm a bit disappointed because they did announce some new Sterlings having a saber for the guitars. I know I left that pause way too long to get you excited then, because I would be so up for them launching a saber in the bass range. The saber is one of my favorite basses aesthetically from Ernie Ball, and I would just love to have an affordable version. I think it'd be incredible. I think eventually they'll do it. But, you know, I also want to have a cutlass or what's the other one called? It always escapes my mind. A caprice, that's it. I'd love to see both of those as well because I just think they're awesome and hard to find. So yeah, give them to us now. So an interesting showing from Moneyball. They certainly made some headlines over the weekend. Now, I've taken some notes here and I've just written ESP. Damn. So ESP have probably been one of my favorite companies at this convention because I didn't really hear much about it until I had to look for it. And oh my goodness, they have dropped some absolute clangers. They look incredible. I've always been a big fan of the of the GB4 bass that they have launched with their like dual humbucker active. It's a bit like their version of a it looks a bit Thunderbird-esque but mixed with some other elements as well. It's a bit rounder. They've got their Phoenix bass, which is their Thunderbird copy. This one's more of like a reverse Thunderbird, and oh, it's so good. So they've got the Orion 4 in Black Burst, which is essentially a GB4 but with two Nordstrand pickups, and it is it's actually a artist model of the bass player from Behemoth, and oh my gosh, it might be my favorite bass of NAMM. Like, it looks unreal. It's almost like a sandblasted black finish, all black hardware, black headstock with a gold logo on it, the Nordstrands. I feel like I could just hear the punch of this bass from here. They've also released the GB4 in this really interesting violet Andromeda satin. Oh, the name's just so good. Which is like almost like a what's the word? Pearlescent purple, which is cool. Some new surveyors, which is like P-bass PJ configuration. AP4. They've got some more metally looking ones with the F series. They've got some new B series basses. And the two new Phoenix models as well, which is, like I said before, their kind of answer to the Thunderbird. But with reverse headstocks. They've got one in silver burst, one in a tobacco sunburst. Seriously, go and check these out. I'm really impressed, and I would love to play some of these. They are all over $1,000. There's only a handful that are under. And the cheapest one, I think, is about $800 on here. But, man, ESP, one to watch. I think that's so cool. Yeah, probably one of my favourites from here. And it's all downhill from here. Oh, dear. No, let's keep going. Ashdown, celebrating the 25th anniversary with a new Evo 5 and ABM 400 limited edition bass amp heads. I've always loved Ashdown. I had the ABM 500 Evo 3. So this is the Evo 5 that they've got now. And it's one that's a bit interesting. It's got two VU meters on it now. You know, they're normally known for having the classic orange meter that goes up and down when you play, look really vintage looking. It's got two, one for input and output now on this one, which is pretty cool. Not too much to say about those, but yeah, I'm here for it. Congrats, Ashdown, on the 25th anniversary. Another short bit of news, another anniversary, 25th anniversary. That's funny, isn't it? Is from Reverend. I've played Reverend guitars before. I've never played a Reverend bass, and they have launched the Decision P. See what they did there? Can you tell what type of bass that's meant to be? A Decision P? Me neither. No idea. They've released the 21st anniversary of that in a silver freeze. So cold, so chilly. It sounds cold, but my goodness, is it hot? It looks really cool. I'm slowly getting into silver basses. I used to hate silver burst, and now I really want one. And talking about Silverburst, another company that's just launched a new Silverburst bass is Vintage. They had quite a strong showing, I thought. We saw some new, really brightly coloured jazzes that they announced, and then also this silver burst P bass to match the jazz bass. And yeah, if you're after a brightly colored bass, maybe like almost like the Sire P5, that's like minty green, go and check out Vintage, man. Matching headstocks all round. It looks like they've got like a Fiesta Red version as well, which is just screaming to be played. And also a black P bass with a mirror pickguard and like a thumb rest. It looks like it would be somebody's signature model, but that's another thing I never thought I'd like that I'm super into now is mirror pickguards. Oh, so cool. Anyway, Vintage, hit me up. Let's work together because we're going to do filthy things. Okay, moving on to Dingwall. Dingwall had looked like a fairly small showing, but it was an impressive one at that, because every single one that they launched, and I think they launched them on social media just before the event, they look really cool. So I'm going to go through these. I might have missed some things. Some things might not be necessarily new, but these are the ones that they were sharing. And there were 3 particular standouts for their new bases that they were showing off. So the NG3s, the Nolly Get Good signature, has a new finish. It is the Celestial Blue. Oh, really nice. It's like a pale blue. It's a bit like the 60s classic vibe, like a Pelham blue type thing, or a Daphne blue, but a bit more saturated, a bit more sheen to it. So that's really cool. The D-Rock. Now, this is like their Thunderbird. I would absolutely love a D-Rock. It's my favorite Dingwall, I think. Or is it? We'll get onto that in a minute. But it's one of my favorite shapes, and I just think it's so cool. So the D-Rock they have got in California Dreams finish. Now, I'll be honest, I don't love this. It's a bit weird, but I'm a bit weird, so it should be a match in heaven, really, you'd think, wouldn't it? So it's this kind of weird looking, it's got like a red sparkly bit down the middle, and then a wooden, almost like wooden effect pickguard on it, and these really cool block inlays which make it look really futuristic. I'll be honest, it is growing on me. Maybe in a couple of different finishes, maybe if that was black down the middle or like an off white, maybe, then I'd be more into it, but hell, I'm still here for it. It's still pretty cool looking, and okay, now I'm looking at pictures of it, and I'm getting one over as we speak. So yeah, that's a cool one. Oh, just to correct myself, the California Dreams one is this pale blue with almost like a sunset looking pink and orangey stripe down the middle, and then with a white pickguard on it. And these things just scream character. They're wicked, man. I really want a Dingwall. Slowly warming up to the afterburner shape. I think that is really cool. And that particularly got me onto this next base that they showed off. And holy moly, it might just be my favorite Dingwall I've ever seen. So this afterburner is roasted ash neck, not roasted maple, roasted ash, in this almost like an army green, a really deep dark racing green. That with like the roasted neck look is incredible. But what's weirder about this is that it's a new, quoting here, segmented line fretless fingerboard. Now, I had never ever seen this before they announced this, and so it kind of blew my mind a little bit, and I had to look it up what it actually was. Essentially, when you're looking at the bass, it looks like a normal bass, but underneath where the string would hit the fret, there's nothing there. It's fretless, and that I was thinking, well, does that mean it's half fretted, some not fretted? No, it doesn't mean that. It's a fretless bass, but it's just got the lines on there, but not like but not underneath where you push the string down, essentially. So it apparently, some people find that when you get fretless basses that have the lines on them, the guides, that they can tell the sound difference, and that you can get more fret buzzing and stuff like that. But it sounds like a finicky issue that hasn't really had a need to be solved until now, and just a really good quality of life thing, I suppose. But it certainly looks really cool. And that thing, if they did that fretted in I think it's a 5 string anyway, as it is. But if they did it, yeah, it is a 5 string. I just found some pictures. If they did it fretted, oh my god, that would be the one for me. I think. Jeez, that is so good. Regardless of what you think about that, it's a cool innovation, and innovations is something I wanted to speak to our guests about today, because I wanted to see what kind of new interesting stuff is out there from some slightly smaller brands. And I say that because what's interesting about this year's NAMM is that the absence of a lot of big brands that normally have massive stands at these events. So no Fender, no Gibson, no PRS. Why are they skipping out the event? Do they feel like they've outgrown it? Is it, is their brand recognition enough alone to sell the products? They don't need to go to these conventions or spend the money and time and resources to market themselves at these events? Maybe. That is it for my kind of announcements. There's loads of stuff that I've missed in there. Those are just kind of my top bits that I saw that I thought were interesting. We're going to jump into our conversations now with our good friends Bully ThaKidd and AMP the bass player. Cool. So now I am thrilled to be joined by Alan Brown, aka Bully ThaKidd. Bully, how are you? How was NAMM?
I'm doing good, and NAMM was a good time, man. NAMM was a good time.
Sounds like you've been slapping every single bass that you can get your hands on.
Yeah. Let's just go with yes, yes. It was fun, man. It was yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I was watching the live stream that you guys did on Lobster's channel, and just like
hmm
the best time. And no doubt some of these answers will be expanded on in that live stream, so everyone should go and check that out. But I wanted to start things off, get an opinion from someone that was actually there, and some answers to some questions, because I've kind of highlighted the things that I've seen that are big announcements and stuff and cool stuff, but not really some of maybe the smaller brands that we want to shed some light on and things like that.
Yeah.
So first off, would you say, what was the standout base or the standout brand there for you?
Um, I'm gonna go with Marco bases. Um, that's gonna be my number one, and then close bases is gonna be my number two.
Ooh,
Uh, Marco bases. It's kind of like a boutique high end, but of course I slap it, but like they're how it feels like I've owned it type of thing.
mm,
So as soon as I picked it up, I felt like I had set it up. I felt like it was there, like perfect, like, and it was a passive bass. So I'm sure there's going to be video or something like that on my channel. I have to find it. Somebody has it, but it was a good time, and that we kind of us as a group, Lobster, Amp, Chris, Johan, Dale, we all kind of drew a circle of viewers when we were playing because we were just swapping out like, hey, you should get your hands on this one, and then we started grooving together. It was a good time, man.
that's awesome.
And
And not
yeah,
surprised a group of people have surrounded you. Sounds like some kind of like tribe or like a ritual
yeah,
going on,
yeah,
a groovy
yeah.
ritual.
Yeah, it was
Nice.
interesting.
And what kind of bases are they doing? Like you say, it's more like boutique stuff. Is it your standard like? I've seen little bits from them just over the weekend.
Yeah, most of it is, playing with exotic woods and playing with different finishes, different bursts. Um, when I say high end, I'm not saying the whole thing is alien mahogany or anything like that, but they're playing with a normal ash with a burl top and a burst or some type of combination of those things. And that was the vast majority of their bases, just random wood plays. They'll take a top and half of it will be one type of spotted burl or something, and then they'll play with a different hue
Oh,
of wood on the other side, kind of like the yin yang thing from Federa,
yeah.
but like a see through wood grain thing. And then they were running the inlays to those uh, to follow suit, so that the inlays are the same woods up the neck. So that type of thing. Yeah, it's as sexy as you think it is.
That sounds
Yeah.
absolute filth. I'm gonna have to relieve myself after this. Jeez. Well, I can't wait to hear those on your channel, no doubt.
Yeah, man.
So I suppose this might kind of be the answer to this next question as well, unless you'd heard of them before. So, was there kind of an unexpected surprise at NAMM that blew you away?
Yeah. Again, I said the number one and number two. I didn't explain the number two. Close bases. Their whole thing is carbon fiber, and it's extremely lightweight. One caveat or one drawback at the present moment, because they're relatively new, they don't currently have a five string version of their bass. They only have fours. So Lobster, Dale, and I kind of took them through its paces, and it's I'm not exaggerating. It's no heavier than 7 pounds for a
Really?
four string. Like, it's ridiculous because it's a carbon fiber neck,
Mhm.
and they just put the whatever wood fretboard you want to do there, and then they add it to like an alder body or maybe an ash body, and then they have a few. I think they said they have a prototype where they even chamber the bases to make them even lighter. So me playing it, and the ones that I played had Fishman pickups in it, so it was like glass clear.
Yeah,
It
nice.
was it was a good time, dude. Yeah.
And you can. I think that's the one that AMP, the bass player, did a great video on, wasn't it? These ones, the carbon.
Either he's done it or he's about to do it. I think Lobster is also in that group, and prayers up. I'll be also joining the band because I want to get my hands on
Well,
one
it's
too.
so light, it won't cost much to ship it, mate. So he'll be all
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, man.
right. But yeah, carbon fiber necks, they've been around for a while. I've never played one though because they're not that common
Mhm.
really or accessible
No,
within like an
they're not.
affordable market.
That,
So I'd love to get my hands on one of those. That seems really cool. And it sounds like that it doesn't really have any impact, if anything, a positive impact on the tone or the feel or sound of the bass.
well, more importantly, it didn't seem to have a negative impact
Mm,
on the bass itself. Uh, it was mostly jazz or like a humbucker setup. I didn't see any P setup that way, but it was mostly like a jazz or a double humbucker type thing. That's what they were tending towards, and I feel like that's probably because maybe the tone woods wouldn't resonate mid frequencies very well. Maybe
I was gonna say, it sounds
so.
like a scooped kind of trendy sound
Yeah,
that it's kind of going for.
and also, you knowing me as a person, that's my jam. That's my marmalade right there. So it was a good time. I actually played the passive version more than I played the active version by choice, which
Really?
is also, yeah, it was weird, man. So yeah, I was favoring the back pickup as well, which is also
Are
weird
you okay?
for
Are
me.
you okay? Has this week done something to you?
I said 60% of the time, man, I was blasting, and it worked every time.
50% of the time, he slaps every time.
Every time.
Nice. So I suppose we move.
AKA Sex Panther. Oh, sorry, mom.
No need to
Go
apologize.
ahead.
Um, so I wonder if you saw whilst you're there, we tend to go through trends within the market, whether it's short scales or multi scales. You see thick trends popping in and out every now and
Uh-huh.
then. Did you notice anything at this year's NAM that's jumping out? Like, yeah, this is going to be the next thing that people are doing.
Well, multi-scale, I've seen a lot more of them on display from the boutique areas, like the collection, like the what do you call it? It's a collection of innovative bases all in one area. So I call it the boutique section. And there was a lot of multi-scale bases there. There were a lot of semi-violin shaped bases there. Maybe not like the actual traditional violin, like the beetle bass, but more like a one cut type neck. It had the thick horn, and that kind of met the neck. type deal.
Mm,
That there was a lot of that. And also in a twist, there's a lot of leaning towards retro visuals. So uh I've seen at least 4 or 5 different companies that went with like a Seric base type deal.
really? Well,
And I say that because that's where when you want something, that's what you see everywhere. So I was seeing a lot of bases that gave me that vibe. I was like, yeah, I could see this in maybe a British punk type thing,
nice. What was it like? The Lincoln shape from Sarah?
more or less. Yeah. I actually think the bass I'm thinking about, the bridge pickup itself was a Seric pickup.
Oh, I've seen. I think I've seen this. That exact one. It's got like they're two different pickups, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the top one's a Guild for whatever reason, and then the back one is a Seric. It plays and sounds great, especially if you like vintage tone, like tube drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, British punk, but pretty much all driving British songs. That's the mindset I go to whenever I hear it played out. Of course, I slapped it, and it's pretty good as well. But I didn't have a pick, so I used my thumb as always.
I feel like I've got a
So
pick in my hand 90% of the time. Whatever I'm doing, I'll be in the shower and be like, "Oh, well, this bit." Um, cool. Well,
we all have our vices.
your thumb's like constantly going.
It's always
Um,
always thumbs up
so talking
all the
about
time.
like you said the word innovative in there for some things that you saw, brings me on to the next
Mhm.
question, which is, what do you think is like the most innovative product that you saw?
I think the the crossing over vintage to modern and making the amalgam of both of those worlds
Mm,
tighter. Like how they had like Mark Base has a thing where they have like two different emulators, the two yellow knobs at the top right, like it's like a VLE and like a VLC. One's more modern, one's more
mhm.
vintage. But there was a rift between the two when they would mix. They could kind of mix and you can kind of get there. But like now, the technology of how a tube amp sounds, along with how maybe a MOSFET amp sounds, the meeting of those two in the middle so that you can click a button and immediately go there. It's happening more often than not. And it's housed in vintage shapes. So it'll be like a whole digital board amp, but it'll be in like a tube housing type
Hmm.
deal. One person or one company that I'm interested in getting with is Laney, because they came out with what I'm talking about, and they had it in like a vertical 410 with offset
This
subs.
is the Digbeth amp, right? That's
Whew,
what I want. That's what I want as my next amp.
that's what I want, and I'm put it right over here.
Yeah.
You can't see it, but see this area right here?
Oh yeah.
Just stack it on up
Yeah,
right there.
because that's exactly what you say. They've got this tilt feature as well on the amps, and
Yes, when it like throws bass at the ground so it has presence.
mm,
Man, I got to playing it again. Well, I was by myself, and they brought out a Ibanez, like a Ibanez. I want to say it's probably like a 506 or 806. It's pretty good as a standard to go for it. Brand new strings on it, and they was like, "You ready to go?" I was like, "Let's see." Tuned it up. Do 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 do. All right, here we go. I looked around, proceeded to slap, and then every it's pretty much what happened. Like
super weird.
I went into a world for maybe like 45 seconds of like double stops and all type of crap. And I came out of it and I turned around and people were like, mm-hmm, yep, yep, that's what you yeah. And I was like,
That's how
I'm
you do
sorry, was I too loud? Was I too loud? I'm sorry. I got happy. I like this.
That's awesome. Yeah, my friend Danny, who's been on a podcast before. I think he was the first ever guest
Mhm,
actually. He's just upgraded his whole rig to Digbeth one, and he's got the 500 head with the vertical cab, and he's also got the
mhm,
preamp pedal as well.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm gassed for that range.
Yeah, man, I dig it.
Uh,
I dig it.
so
I didn't even think about Laney as a base company, really. And then I was like, that's way too deep for a guitar cabinet. So I kind of was just staring at it, trying to figure stuff out without being, yeah. And then they was like, can we help you? I was like, y'all do bass cabinets? And they was like, yeah.
like, oh, please come this way.
I was like, do you do it well? But,
Yeah,
hmm?
Laney they're a funny one because they're a British company. So they're a lot more common over here. Like there's loads of Laney, like really affordable stuff. I've had a Laney bass cab before. They
Really?
did
Okay.
oh, what did they have? I can't remember the name of their last range that they did, but that was the Nexus, I think it was called. It had a load of built-in effects, I think, as well.
Okay.
But yeah, this one has been the one to really turn my head for sure.
Okay.
Cool. Well, that's made me very excited. Hear you say that. So the last question that I thought I'd ask is, now you've been to one NAMM before, I'm assuming
Hmm.
pre-COVID pandemic world as well.
No, it was
Oh,
last year, maybe. Yeah, last year around this time.
okay, okay. Well, what do you think then, based on those two experiences, what do you think the future of NAMM looks like?
Well, the from what I understand, NAM was a crazy experience pre-COVID. Like COVID came through and kind of shut everything down. I think last year, January, they just decided not to do it. And then uh, the one in Nashville, they actually started it, but a lot of big companies didn't really show up, and it was kind of empty. It was still a good experience because I'd never been there, and I got to, it was a lot easier to have a good conversation with the people that are creating the products for me. Like I didn't have to worry about, oh, I'm taking up too much of his time or anything like that.
Yeah.
So from there to here, there's more foot traffic. It's a more electric scene. Of course, the one that I went to before was in Nashville, so it's a little bit more of a party type situation than the California one because that NAM show was like right next door to the strip where everything there's like honky tonk bars stacked on top honky tonk bar. It was crazy. It was ridiculous. And Cali was a lot more laid back. You had to kind of go and find your trouble, which is good, I assume. But that's as far as experiences go. But the people that were there were easily 2 to 3 times more than what was in Nashville.
Hmm.
I'll say that. So there was a lot more specified areas, like a whole drum thunder central. Then there was a lot of accessory shops, like pickup holder places, people selling straps, people selling a lot of ukulele bases or ukes, period. And yeah, there was night and day difference. But I'm hopeful because that convention center was huge. So I'm thinking next go around, which will be next year. I don't think they're doing a winter now, but next go around, it should be even bigger of a situation than it was this time. So I'm interested.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Because I mean, traditionally, all the big names and everyone's there, and the winter one's normally the big one. It's all like January time. Bam!
Hmm.
Everyone drops their products. It's massive, and then
Hmm.
the summer one's like a slightly smaller one, if you like. So
Yeah,
interesting to see if
so
they switch that around.
I feel like they're gonna have to because they're not doing the Nashville area location anymore. Each time they have it, it's going to be in Anaheim. At least that's what the website says.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, but like Fender, I didn't see them there. Uh, MTD had a very small booth there, like really small, maybe 6 feet across, I guess. But Ibanez had a pretty good showing. Music Man was there. Rickenbacker had a middle space, but Ibanez had like a freaking maze of bases that you can go and walk through. It was cool.
Oh,
So yeah,
it sounds like it should be a nightmare. Like, oh, I'm stuck in a maze. But if it's of bases,
of base. I don't.
fine by me. Leave me there.
Pretty much. Just don't come a knocking if this bass is a rocking, you know.
Incredible. Yeah, it's interesting
Yeah.
with like some of the big brands not showing their face. Obviously, like it might be that I don't know if some of them feel like they've outgrown it, or like why spend like $30,000 or whatever to have a spot there when we've made exactly the same sales on our
Without
brand
all the
name
exposure.
alone. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so
So there is that. There is that there, but if you do come, well, Fender did come out with the Meteor, and then last year they came out, or year before, the American Pro 2 and stuff. So they do have something to bring to the table that's newer. But yeah, exactly what you said. If I made my bottom line without all the exposure because of what we had to go through the last 2 years, then what's the point of me spending money out of the budget to just show up and then have to pay people on top of that and produce the instruments, you know? So I guess I kind of get it, but as a fanboy, it sucks.
yeah, you just want to see it all as well and try as much as
Yeah,
possible, of course.
yeah,
So
yeah.
for the consumer or the person that's going out of fun or to try things, then yeah, it's a sad time. I suppose traditionally it was set up to for them to market it to other companies and suppliers, isn't it, or to each other
Hmm.
rather than the public. Whereas this time it was open all 3 days to the public, so it's more public facing maybe now.
More or less, yeah.
This is
There were a lot of people that do what we do, from all walks of life, all levels of entertainment. Notably, got to chop it up with Adam Neely.
I saw. That's
Yeah. And he just, I didn't, like, I was in the middle of looking at, like, I bought the Ibanez, right? Like, I bought a 6 string 1805, right? And uh, I was just looking at it, I was like, I got that at home. I can't wait to get back home and play that. I'm gonna slap it. And then like I heard his voice behind me. So I turned around. Oh, keep it together, baby. Keep it together. Keep it together. Mm-hmm. Cute and cuddly. Cute and cuddly. How you doing, sir?
I hope you said that out loud to him. Cute and cuddly
Because
hello.
it doesn't know if it's me or him.
It's like okay.
Ah, ah. But also you're large, so I don't want to offend. But nah, man, he was cool, real down to earth. Got to ask him some questions, and yeah, it was that conversation was a blur. Like it was just happening organically, and
Ah, that's the best
it was a good
kind though.
time.
It sucks when it's like they're not what you think they're going to be, or never meet your heroes type thing. But that sounds like it was a
Oh, he's exactly like I thought he was
yeah.
going to be.
That's
So I was like,
good.
that's pretty
That's
cool.
good.
And I feel like it was some of the conversation was recorded. I feel like it was, but I can't guarantee. In my mind, it's all blurred.
Yeah.
So.
So on that, have you got content coming out around NAMM? Uh,
Yeah, I'm actually gonna compile. I think the whole group does. Lobster's still on vacation till maybe next week or so. So his stuff will come out a little bit later. But I'll be working on something probably tonight, maybe tomorrow night, and try to push that out on like Thursday or Friday or so. So yeah,
Beautiful. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for popping in, featuring on this
absolutely.
episode. It's been amazing to hear your take on it all,
Yeah.
yeah, speak to someone that was actually bloody there. So thank you so much, mate, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay, so I feel like I've just switched on character then. Turned up the energy like 20%. Woohoo!
we can't be at like a comfortable 3. We got to be 10.
Turn it all the way up to 11 on our amps for this one.
No one will listen to this if we aren't jazzed out of our minds. Wah!
I'm more of a precision, actually. Thanks very much. Um,
Hey, I got that reference.
um, so now I am joined by Andrew, aka AMP, the bass player. How are you, my friend?
Doing great. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. It's getting on a bit. I'm gonna go and watch Obi-Wan Kenobi after this. So
Hey,
good.
yeah, me
It's,
too.
Oh, nice. Although I've not heard great things about this episode, so
Oh,
we'll see.
I all I've heard is that it's short.
Oh, really? It
Uh,
doesn't feel like we're like halfway through the season now. I think that's my only thing. Maybe.
yeah, right about there.
Anyway, that's a whole separate podcast. Maybe we can split off into.
Well, we'll talk about the rebel base later.
Hey, let's start a podcast and call it Broby One Kenobi. Just two
Broby.
bros talking about Obi-Wan.
The world does need more podcasts.
Yeah, but it's one thing we're lacking.
Supply
Anyway.
and demand, you know. Anyway.
So I just wanted to get some different thoughts on bit of coverage of things I might have missed, that kind of thing. So starting off, obviously this is your first ever one that you've been to, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never been to NAMM before, and truth be told, I haven't ever really paid that much attention to it. Like, not specifically. It was always just like a thing I was kind of aware of that was a big deal for the music industry. Which, by the way, off the top of your head, do you know what NAMM stands for? Because I don't think
Or
very many people do.
isn't it like? Well, I want to say like National Association of like Music, uh, not retailers, because that's not NARM or NAMM.
Yeah. You're
It's
you're you're on the right track. It's music merchants.
merchants. That's the word. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the thing. Because the original thing that it was businesses. It was a B2B conference essentially, selling to other
Yeah.
businesses where they'd come
Right.
together and people would leave their cards with their yeah, I'll take so many of these to launch their
Mhm.
new products to a captive audience. Um, but now and it's now become the place where people drop their new stuff for the year. Normally, the big winter one happening in January. Um, that's when everyone does like big drops for the year. And so you get loads of like YouTube coverage of stuff, and it's become much more like outward facing now as a proper full blown event. And
Mhm.
that's developed over a very brief history of NAMM. But we'll come on to the history turning into the future later on, because I'd like to discuss that with you. First of all, though, what were your first impressions when you got there?
Well, my first impressions was like this is huge. There are so many people here. There is so much gear here. This is unbelievable. And then as I was talking to people, the sentiment that I got was, "Oh, we're kind of disappointed how small NAM is this year." And it's like, "Oh, really?" Like I'm still like so overwhelmed, and this isn't even like the full power of the
Mm.
NAM show. Like, holy cow, I can't imagine what this place might have been like, in 2019. I guess it would have been the last like full one, right?
Yeah, well, interesting. I suppose we're kind of on the topic now, so I guess we'll kind of talk about the how it's been going and how it will be going. Why not?
Yeah.
Change it
Yeah.
up.
Well,
I feel like a lot of the big names not being there has that not brought as many people in. Obviously, it's a smaller place. Are they struggling to fill the stands? I don't know. It sounded like the vibe that you got was that it's kind of not as big as it used to be. But then maybe after the pandemic, it's kind of got to recharge a bit. I don't know.
I spoke to a friend of mine. He's been in the industry for a long time as a guitar player, and he said that like while there weren't as many booths as usual, and then of course like notable big players missing like Fender and Gibson, there were just as many people. Like it was still very well attended. And so like on one hand, I'm like maybe Fender feels like they're big enough that they don't need to go to NAMM, like they don't need to have a big presence there because like their YouTube channel is far and away one of the most popular music brand channels on the platform. And then I think Gibson started theirs up in like 2018, and I think that they've rolled it into kind of a similar thing. It's like, well, if we release a product and we put it up on our YouTube channel, we'll get just as much coverage than if we did that and went to NAMM. I think that's kind of the calculus you have to kind of run as a brand, is like how much does NAMM actually help us? Because like brand awareness is not really a problem for either of them, right? Like everybody knows Fender, everybody knows Gibson, blah 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 blah. Like, so I'm kind of wondering if they're going to shift to just sort of having like their own thing, kind of like
Yeah.
the Apple model, where it's like we're gonna have our own event, we're gonna do our own thing with blackjack and hookers, right? Like we don't need to be with all the plebeians. But I think the positive side of that is that leaves a vacuum for other brands to step up. Like pretty notably, the Yamaha booth was elaborate.
Ooh, I've
Like
not heard
they
anything about the Yamaha booth this year.
I think I had a brief thing on my story. I'm still waiting on footage from all the guys. But like in the third floor of the show, because you have just like tons of booths, all crammed together on the first floor, and then the second and third floor they have like rooms for other brands. So like ESP had a pretty good sized room that was just for them, and then on the top floor you have Yamaha, who is sponsoring a lot of it. Like they had a big stage outside too, where they had bands performing all day and stuff. But their specific room, like it had this gigantic like chandelier looking thing that was like the Yamaha logo, and then this big round stage in the middle of it where they had like a full band set up like playing throughout the day, and then they had little sections throughout this big room. Is very like if Apple went on dark mode, like imagine an Apple store on dark mode, but they
Oh,
had little like kiosks where you could like take an instrument off and like plug it into like a headphone amp and then demo things that way, which was actually kind of hilarious because obviously Yamaha owns Ampeg now, so they had the SVT fridge, but you could only run it with headphones, which I kind of found funny. I mean, it makes sense because they don't want to disrupt everybody and of the live performance they have going
they
on.
should
It's
make a
like,
headphone amp that vibrates your entire body like the SVT, like,
yeah. I mean, people talk about the SVT sound, and I actually think that it's less the head and more the cab, but and
oh,
that's neither here nor there. But yeah, in the absence of Fender of Gibson, other brands do have their time to shine. So maybe we'll just see more of other brands fill the space that gets left behind. Maybe we won't. I don't know. It's hard to say.
well, I think that's so from the outside, people might go like, oh, instantly, like this brand's not being there, or it's all going downhill. That's not good. But actually, like I say, it has the potential for cool innovations to come in through these other companies,
Hmm.
getting bigger and getting more, uh, you know, more eyes on them
Right.
through such a big event like this. That sounds really cool. I want to go and check out some pictures of that Yamaha booth now, and I eagerly await all of you guys' videos on it.
Yeah, hopefully by the time we all finish them, people haven't forgotten about it. That's the thing. Like I know a lot of people when they cover other events, like they'll finish up their videos from their hotel rooms before they
Mhm.
even go home, and it's like, it's gonna be at least next week before I get this done.
Yeah, I imagine there's so much footage that you guys got. Uh,
Oh yeah.
I was just thinking then actually, like about them setting up a big stage, and I saw like a big stage with bands performing at NAMM. Oh, what a nerve-wracking place to play in front of loads of musicians and professional audio people. They're like,
Yeah, yeah. It's not just like the average Joe who doesn't know anything about music. You're getting critical and informed eyes on you.
yeah.
But and actually, to that point, it was really fun, just being with our whole little entourage. There were seven of us with Lobster's crew and Bully. But every time the Bully would sit down and demo anything, this crowd would kind of form around him just because he's such an exciting player. And so it was just like he would steal the show everywhere he went.
Yeah, and like everywhere he goes, that thing's getting slapped, So it's almost like, oh, I can follow his trail of slapping wherever
Yeah,
he goes.
yeah.
Beautiful. Well, certainly look like you've got your hands on a lot of guitars whilst you were there.
Hmm.
Um, what would you say was like the standout one for you?
Oh, it was the Fordite bass, and I'm trying to think who. I can't even remember the manufacturer on it now. I'd have to go back and look at my photo. But the thing that was cool about it, because it was a smaller like boutique brand, but what they had done is there was a veneer on all of it, matching headstock with this material called Fordite, which is apparently residual paint from painting cars. So like
Oh,
Fordite. So
uh,
it ends up kind of giving, when you like have a dipped guitar, like the paint dipping thing that they do, it kind of has that sort of a vibe, but it's just this swirl of all of these different colors, and it just looks stunning in person. And then they had like matching pickup covers, and the control knobs were
cool.
all made out of this stuff. Like it was gorgeous. And then of course the bass itself was just flawless in every other way and sounded amazing, but like I just couldn't get over how striking it looked. It's just gorgeous bass.
I feel like in a sea of guitars that are there, for something to really grab your attention like that, it's got to be stunning.
Oh yeah. I mean, thousands of instruments on that show floor, and it was either that or the Lego guitar, like a fully functional guitar made almost entirely out of Lego.
Incredible. Well, could they sell that as build your own kits? Yes, please.
Well, Fender actually does make a like a little small model guitar. As
Yes,
soon
they
as they make a
do.
bass for it, Fender, I know you're out there listening here. Make a Lego set of a bass, and I will be first in line to buy it. You heard it here.
I want that 60s P bass, please.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, I've actually thought exactly the same thing because I've seen it in the shop before and gone, oh, I could, but I feel like a bit of a traitor.
Yeah.
Nah, oh, no, I'm all right. But yeah, full size one, please, or a short scale. I'll take that. It's fine.
hmm
So I suppose that might be the answer for this one as well, because was there any kind of unexpected surprises that you saw there, or things you didn't expect to see?
Oh, unexpected. The Torzal bass. I don't know if you've ever heard of Torzal.
No.
And this might be because I know you're going to ask about like innovative, and but this one was just also like just well, that's super odd. Torzal does twisted basses.
Oh, I saw pictures of this on your live stream and you guys talking about this.
Yeah. So, I mean, he has different degrees of twist, but the idea is that it keeps your wrists straighter. And I've seen this before. Like I remember it from years and years ago when he first like started out, and it came out, and it was like, oh, the twisted bass, and I was just like, like what? Why would that matter?
Yeah.
But when you actually get your hands on it, you immediately just go, oh, okay, absurdly comfortable,
Wow.
like wickedly comfortable. Like it's just like slight degrees that bring the neck closer around towards the bottom, and then the bridge like kind of pokes out so that your wrist keeps straight, and it is absurd how comfortable it is.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm doing it with my hand now, like thinking, how would that feel? But I can totally get that.
Yeah.
Well, that's so strange. I feel like I'd want to bend more if it's kind of got like this slant to it? I don't know. Did it feel quite natural to play still?
Yeah, yeah, very, very natural. I think the one and only problem that we discovered with it, and it's probably the reason why they don't make guitars this way, is that if you bend notes very far, you get fret buzz. So like that would kind of be a deal breaker for a guitar, but on bass, like that's a technique that you can kind of live without.
Yeah, totally depends on your playing style, really, isn't it?
hmm
That's really cool. I'd totally forgotten about that when you guys have spoken about it. Um, now, guys at home, I wonder if you could just make your own one of those. If you just chuck your bass in a lake, leave it for a couple of days, bring it out, and it's all warped. Done. Maybe that's
Yeah.
how this idea came about. It'd been on a couple of flights.
It's just a happy accident.
Yeah. I'm just imagining him like as a small boy, like picking up a stick. Oh, feeling so good in their hands.
Yeah, yeah.
Really into a guitar. Nice. Oh, cool. I'd love to try something like that. I love like totally putting something on its head and thinking about it in a different way. So that's really
Yeah,
cool.
that it's so cool that there are thousands of people all out there all looking at instruments and thinking like, what could we just do different just for no other reason than to make it different?
Yeah. And
They're all
what
like, how do we solve these little tiny problems? Because all the big problems have been solved 1,000 times over, right? So like little innovations like that, it's just like there's always room for something else to get more interesting or better or improved.
yeah, and it like takes us to that next step. It's a bit
hmm
kind of reminds me of Dingwall. I think I'm going to talk about it in my earlier bit. I've released like this a fretless bass 5 string, but it's got like gaps in the middle where the string sits. So it's almost like a fret marker going across, but not where
Oh
the
yeah,
string is. I can't remember
yeah.
the name of it that they've given it.
No, I
Uh,
remember seeing that. That's a bizarre idea, but
yeah, and apparently it's to stop, because like the real finicky fretless players out there will be like, oh well, I you can tell the it doesn't play quite the same, or you can get buzz if you've got a fret marker on there, which I never really knew or understood before because I was like,
hmm
why is this a thing? But apparently that's why, and so that's like one of those tiny little problems that they've just like tried to solve with an innovation.
yeah.
Whether something like
Which
that
I
can
which
comfort.
I wonder if Dingwall has thought about this if you do that setup where you have like the partial frets to make it a fretless, but then go multi-scale with it.
Oh, you're talking naughty things now, naughty, dirty things to say. Yeah, that would be cool. And like, what I'm imagining now, like, because when I first saw it, I thought, is it just fretless in the middle? And then I just like, if you bend it, it's not a fretless. I was like, what the hell's this? Maybe that's an innovation that we don't need.
Right.
We might see, who knows? So we're talking about little innovations and stuff in here. It kind of segues into the question that's a bit later. Is there anything that kind of stood out for something being quite innovative apart from this warped bendy boy?
As far as other innovations, trying to think, because like the vast majority of the instruments that I personally got my hands on were just really, really expensive, but otherwise, fairly standard instruments, as far as just like controls and whatnot. Yeah, the Torzal I think was about the only thing that I remember getting my hands on that I was just like, that feels like futuristic to me. That feels like out of the box.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I'll accept that as your answer.
Okay. Good enough.
Closer to that £1 million. Right. Last one we got is about trends. Was there any things that, we've been in a short scale phase for a while, always looking to see what might be next. Is there going to be some semi-hollow trends going on? Did you notice anything throughout?
Maybe more of just a design trend, and it was just such a bizarre thing to notice, but lollipop tuners.
Oh, okay.
I saw those on so many bases. And normally that's just like an old vintage throwback thing, but I was seeing them on all of them, like everywhere. Well, and they was on that Fordite base in particular. It was decked out in gold hardware, but lollipop tuners.
Yeah.
And like that was one of the first booths that we stopped by, and I remember like thinking, oh, that's an interesting choice, this really modern bass with this crazy material on the front of it, and then vintage lollipop tuners. That's interesting. And then I just kept seeing them over and over and over again.
Interesting.
I guess they're just kind of having a moment. People like that vintage feel or something. I don't know. I'm about it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, no, I've never had one with them on it. Checking, I don't have one right now. No, definitely don't have one right now.
Yeah, they're probably all Clover style, or even like the Ibanez like T style.
Yeah. The Clover ones. Maybe there's just a world shortage of that stencil or that shape somehow. It's become an NFT. Somebody's got the original.
I'd sell you an NFT of a lollipop tuner.
You're gonna make bank in a few years when every brand's doing it. Nice, cool. Well, I'm here for that. I'm up for that. It's a nice little change that can bring some vintage vibes to some modern looking basses. I like it.
Yeah.
Nice one. Cool. Well, the last question was going to be future of NAMM. I feel like we've already covered that in the start.
Yeah, we did things backwards.
Just like we always like to do, you and I,
Yep. that is our thing that we always do.
What do we like, eh? Oh, bloody hell. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for helping me out with this and jumping in and sharing your thoughts, wisdom, and experience with the viewers.
Absolutely. Anytime. Always a pleasure, Johnny.
Beautiful. Have a great day, my friend. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
So there you have it. That is our NAMM special episode coming to a close. If you liked this, don't forget to give it a 5-star review on your listening platform of choice, or if you're watching this on YouTube, then give it a like and leave me a comment down below saying what your favorite thing from NAMM was. Normally, I get questions that I answer on this podcast from the audience at home, and you can do that. You can submit your questions by following me on Instagram at Johnny Dibble and looking out for my question submission posts that I normally put on my stories. So yeah, just keep an eye out and you might be able to get involved. Once again, thank you so much for listening. See you next time.